All right, buckle up.
Oh, yeah.
Because today we're taking a culinary trip around the world, but not to the usual foodie hotspots.
Right.
We're diving into the fascinating world of banned foods. You know,
Interesting.
those dishes and delicacies that are off limits in certain countries.
Yeah,
For reasons that might surprise you.
that's right.
We've got a stack of articles and research here,
We do.
ready to uncover the stories behind 10 foods that are considered no-go zones in various corners of the globe.
All over the world.
So get ready to explore the intersection of food, culture, history,
Absolutely.
and even a bit of legal intrigue.
Ooh.
You might find yourself rethinking your grocery list,
Oh, yeah.
or at least looking at your next meal with a new sense of curiosity.
We'll kick things off with a childhood favorite
Yeah.
that's caused quite a stir over the years.
Right.
The Kinder Surprise Egg.
Oh, I remember those.
These chocolate eggs with a toy surprise inside are a beloved treat in many parts of the world,
Yes.
but strictly forbidden in the United States.
I mean, what kid wouldn't want chocolate and a toy in one package?
I know.
But the U.S. has had a long-standing ban on them,
Right.
citing a 1938 law
Uh-huh.
that prohibits embedding non-nutritive objects in food.
The concern, of course, is choking hazards.
Right.
But what's fascinating
Yeah.
is that these eggs are perfectly legal in many European countries.
I know, right?
Including the UK,
Yeah.
where they're incredibly popular.
So it seems like there's a cultural difference in risk perception at play here.
I think so.
It makes you wonder, are American kids really more prone to swallowing small toys whole?
It's a good question.
Or is there something else going on?
It's a question worth pondering.
Okay.
Now let's shift gears from sweet treats to something a bit more controversial.
Okay.
Unpasteurized milk and dairy products.
Uh-huh.
This is a topic that often sparks heated debate.
Raw milk has gained a sort of cult following
Mm-hmm.
among those who believe it's healthier and more natural. But many health organizations,
Yeah.
including the FDA, strongly advise against consuming it
Yes.
due to the potential for harmful bacteria.
And the risks are real.
Yeah.
We're talking about E. coli, salmonella, listeria,
Right.
bacteria that can cause serious illness.
Right.
Especially in vulnerable populations like children, pregnant women, and the elderly.
But raw milk advocates argue that pasteurization, the process of heating milk to kill bacteria, also destroys beneficial nutrients and enzymes.
They do.
They see it as an unnecessary intervention in a natural food.
It's a complex issue with valid arguments on both sides.
Yeah, except
Ultimately, it comes down to individual choice
Right.
and weighing the perceived benefits against the potential risks.
All right, let's move on to a food that's often associated with luxury and fine dining,
Okay.
but also carries a heavy ethical burden.
I know where you're going.
Foie gras. This rich, fatty liver, typically from ducks or geese.
It's considered a delicacy in French cuisine.
Yeah.
But the production method involves force-feeding the birds
Right.
to enlarge their livers,
You know.
a practice that many animal welfare groups condemn as cruel.
The debate surrounding foie gras highlights the tension between culinary tradition,
Definitely.
animal welfare, and the ethics of food production.
Absolutely.
And it has led to bans in several places, including California
Yeah.
and the entire country of India.
The ban in California was actually overturned for a period,
Really?
then reinstated after further legal challenging. It's clear that this is a topic that continues to spark strong opinions and legal battles.
Next up, we're heading to Jamaica
Right.
for a taste of a fruit that's both delicious and potentially dangerous.
Oh.
Ackee.
Ackee is the national fruit of Jamaica.
It is.
And a key ingredient in their national dish,
Okay.
ackee and saltfish.
Interesting.
But here's the catch.
What?
If it's not prepared properly,
Yeah.
ackee can be toxic.
The unripe fruit contains a toxin called hypoglycin,
Right.
which can cause serious illness, even death.
It's a reminder that even seemingly innocuous foods
Oh, right.
can have hidden dangers if not handled with care. It also speaks to the importance of understanding the cultural context of food.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Traditional knowledge and preparation techniques often play a crucial role in ensuring food safety.
Now, for a dish that's sparked international outcry and conservation efforts,
Okay.
shark fin soup.
This soup, considered a delicacy in some Asian cultures,
I know it is.
is made from the fins of sharks, often obtained through a cruel and wasteful practice called shark finning.
Fishermen catch sharks, cut off their fins, and then discard the still living animal back into the ocean,
Horrible.
where it dies a slow and agonizing death.
It's a horrifying practice that's decimating shark populations worldwide.
Dude.
The demand for shark fin soup has fueled a global black market trade, making it incredibly difficult to enforce bans and protect these magnificent creatures.
Oh, man.
The high price tag associated with the soup makes it a status symbol,
Really?
further fueling the demand despite the ethical and ecological consequences.
It's a stark reminder that our food choices have ripple effects.
They do.
Far beyond our own plates.
Yeah.
Speaking of cultural complexities, our next banned food might surprise you.
Let's hear it.
Samosas.
Yes. Those crispy, triangular pastries filled with savory goodness are actually banned in certain regions of Somalia.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Samosas, what did they ever do to anyone?
Well, it's not the samosa itself that's the problem,
Okay.
but rather its shape.
The shape.
In areas controlled by the Islamist group Al-Shabaab,
Uh-huh.
the triangular shape is seen as resembling the Christian Holy Trinity,
Oh, wow.
leading to a ban based on religious grounds.
It's a fascinating example of how food can become intertwined with political and religious ideologies.
Absolutely.
What we eat, and even the shape of our food,
Yeah.
can carry symbolic meanings that go far beyond simple sustenance.
Next, we're venturing into territory that might make some squeamish.
Okay.
Horse meat.
Horse meat is a delicacy in some cultures,
It is.
but it's strictly taboo in others,
Uh-huh.
like the United States and the United Kingdom,
Right.
where horses are often seen as companions rather than livestock.
This cultural divide highlights the subjective nature of what we consider food.
Interesting.
What's acceptable in one culture can be completely repulsive in another.
That's true.
And these perceptions are often deeply rooted in history, tradition, and our relationship with animals.
It makes you wonder how many other culinary experiences we might be missing out on,
Right.
simply because of our cultural conditioning.
Absolutely.
All right, get ready for a truly adventurous,
Okay.
or perhaps stomach-churning, delicacy, casu marzu.
This traditional Sardinian sheep's milk cheese is not for the faint of heart.
I've heard of this.
It's intentionally infested with live insect larvae, which break down the fats in the cheese, giving it a soft, almost liquid texture.
Live maggots and cheese.
Yeah.
I think I'll pass.
You're not alone.
Okay.
The European Union has banned casu marzu for hygiene reasons.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And even in Sardinia, it's considered a risky delicacy.
Wow.
But it's an extreme example of how cultural preferences and culinary traditions can push the boundaries of what we consider edible.
Let's move from the world of wriggling cheese
Okay.
to something a bit more luxurious, beluga caviar.
These prized black pearls, harvested from the endangered beluga sturgeon,
Oh, right.
are a delicacy enjoyed by the elite.
I know.
However, the demand for this luxury good has led to overfishing and a sharp decline in beluga sturgeon populations.
As a result, the United States has banned the import of beluga caviar from the Caspian Sea
I know they have.
in an effort to protect the dwindling species.
This ban highlights the complex interplay between sustainability, conservation efforts, and consumer demand.
It does.
Even the most luxurious foods are subject to the laws of nature and the consequences of human actions.
And finally, let's talk about something that's likely on the minds of many parents.
Right.
Artificial food dyes.
These brightly colored additives are found in a wide array of processed foods, especially those marketed to children.
Yeah.
But in recent years, there have been growing concerns about their potential health effects.
Studies have suggested a link between artificial food dyes and hyperactivity, attention deficit disorders, and other behavioral problems in children.
It's concerning.
Some countries have responded by banning or restricting the use of certain dyes, particularly in products aimed at kids.
The debate over artificial food dyes raises important questions about food safety, regulation, and the influence of food additives on our health,
Absolutely.
particularly the health of children.
It does.
It really does.
It's a lot to think about.
I know, right?
Yeah, it is.
Food is complicated.
It-
It's more than just fuel.
It is.
It's culture. It's history. It's ethics. It's a whole world unto itself.
And sometimes it's even a little bit dangerous.
But that's what makes it so fascinating, right?
Exactly.
The risks, the rewards, the stories behind what we eat.
It's all part of the adventure.
I think so.
I think so too.
And I think we've only just begun to scratch the surface.
Oh, yeah.
There's so much more to explore.
I'm excited to see where this deep dive takes us.
Me too.
All right, let's take a quick break,
Sounds good.
and we'll be right back with more Forbidden Flavors.
Can't wait. So,
It's amazing how food can be so much more than just something we eat, isn't it?
it really is.
It's a reflection of our culture,
Yeah.
our values,
Mhm.
even our anxieties.
Absolutely.
It's been eye-opening to see how these seemingly simple food bans actually open up these huge conversations
Yeah.
about everything from risk perception
Mm-hmm.
to the global trade in endangered species.
It's fascinating.
What stood out to you so far?
Honestly, the Kinder Surprise egg ban is still rattling around in my brain.
Yeah.
It's a great example of how something can seem perfectly normal in one part of the world
Right.
and utterly unthinkable in another.
Yeah. It makes you realize how much our ideas about safety
Uh-huh.
and even what constitutes a reasonable risk
Yeah,
are shaped by the culture we grow up in.
for sure.
And it's not just about individual cultures either.
No.
The raw milk debate really gets at this tension
Yeah.
between personal choice and public health,
Mm.
a tension that plays out in so many areas of our lives.
It does, doesn't it?
On one hand, you got people who are passionate about the perceived benefits of raw milk
Yeah.
and who see pasteurization as unnecessary government interference.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, you have health officials trying to prevent outbreaks of serious illness,
Right.
especially among those who are most vulnerable.
Exactly.
It's a tough balance to strike.
It is.
It speaks to the need for clear, evidence-based information so people can make informed decisions about their own health and the health of their families.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's talk about foie gras.
All right.
This is another one that's riddled with ethical complexities.
It really is.
The force-feeding process is undeniably cruel,
Yeah.
but it's also part of a long-standing culinary tradition in France.
And it's a tradition that's become deeply intertwined with ideas of luxury and fine dining.
Right.
There's this whole concept of gastronomic exceptionalism.
Oh, interesting.
Where certain foods are seen as being so special
Yeah.
that they justify practices that might otherwise be considered unacceptable.
It raises some interesting questions about how we prioritize certain values when it comes to food. Do we place a higher value on tradition and culinary artistry
Mm-hmm.
or on the well-being of the animals involved?
It's a conversation we need to be having, for sure, especially as our awareness of animal sentience and the capacity for suffering continues to evolve.
And speaking of ethical dilemmas, the shark fin soup trade, just heartbreaking. It's a brutal practice that's driven solely by demand for this so-called delicacy,
Yeah.
and it's pushing some shark species towards extinction.
What's even more frustrating
Yeah.
is that the bans on shark finning are incredibly difficult to enforce.
I can imagine.
It's a multi-billion-dollar black market industry,
Wow.
and the demand continues to drive the slaughter.
It's a reminder that our choices as consumers have far-reaching consequences.
They really do.
When we choose to buy a product,
Mhm.
we're essentially supporting the entire system that produced it,
Right.
whether we like it or not.
Exactly.
It highlights the need for greater awareness, education, and international cooperation to address these complex global issues.
Absolutely.
Now, let's shift gears for a moment and talk about the samosa ban in Somalia.
Okay.
It's fascinating how something as seemingly innocuous as a pastry
I know, right?
can become a flashpoint for religious and cultural conflict.
It really underscores how food can be so much more than just sustenance. It can be a powerful symbol of identity,
Yeah.
belief, and
Uh-huh.
belonging.
Right.
And when those things are perceived as being threatened,
Right.
people can react very strongly.
It's a reminder that we need to approach these kinds of cultural differences with sensitivity and understanding,
I agree.
even if we don't agree with them.
Absolutely.
And on that note, let's talk about horse meat.
All right.
This is another great example of how what we consider food is largely a matter of cultural perspective.
It really is.
In some cultures, horses are seen as working animals or livestock.
Right.
And eating horse meat is perfectly normal.
But in others, particularly in the West,
Right.
horses are viewed as companions or even pets.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea of eating horse meat is just abhorrent.
It makes you wonder how many other culinary experiences we might be missing out on simply because of our cultural conditioning.
And speaking of pushing the boundaries of what's considered edible,
Okay.
casu marzu is definitely an extreme example. I mean, most people would be pretty grossed out by the idea of cheese with live maggots in it.
Yeah, I'm one of those people.
But to the people of Sardinia, it's a traditional delicacy that's been enjoyed for generations.
Wow.
It really highlights the wide range of human culinary preferences and how what's considered disgusting in one culture can be a delicacy in another.
Okay, let's move from maggot-infested cheese
Okay.
to something a bit more luxurious.
All right.
Beluga caviar.
Ah, yes, the food of czars and oligarchs.
But even this delicacy is subject to the pressures of overfishing and habitat destruction.
Sadly, it is.
The ban on beluga caviar from the Caspian Sea is a sobering reminder that our desire for luxury goods can have devastating consequences for the environment.
It is.
It's another example of the tragedy of the commons.
Right.
The idea that when a resource is shared, individuals acting in their own self-interest can deplete it, even if they know it's not sustainable in the long run.
And in the case of beluga sturgeon, we're talking about a species that's been around for millions of years.
I know.
But is now critically endangered.
It's a wake-up call that we need to find ways to balance our desire for luxury
Yeah,
with the need to protect the planet's biodiversity.
absolutely.
And finally, let's talk about something that's on the minds of many parents.
Okay.
Artificial food dyes.
These bright, colorful additives are ubiquitous in processed foods, especially those marketed to children.
But there's growing concern about their potential impact on children's health.
There is.
Studies have shown a link between artificial food dyes and hyperactivity, attention deficit disorders,
Yeah.
and other behavioral problems in kids.
That's a valid concern.
And while the science is still being debated,
Right.
it's enough to make many parents think twice about what their kids are eating.
It's definitely a topic that warrants further research.
It is.
And it's a reminder that as consumers,
Yeah.
we need to be aware of what's in our food and advocate for greater transparency and regulation when it comes to food additives.
That's a great point.
So
We've covered a lot of ground today.
we have.
And I think it's clear that the world of banned foods is far more complex
Definitely.
and fascinating than we might have imagined.
Absolutely.
So we've journeyed from chocolate eggs with hidden toys to cheese crawling with live larvae.
Yeah, we've covered some wild territory.
We've explored the cultural clashes over samosas, the ethical quandaries of foie gras,
Right.
and the ecological devastation of the shark fin trade.
Some really thought-provoking stuff.
It's been quite a culinary adventure.
It has.
And I think it's safe to say that we've only scratched the surface of this fascinating world
Oh, absolutely.
of forbidden flavors.
Yeah, there's so much more out there.
It really makes you think about all the assumptions we make about food, doesn't it?
It does.
We often take for granted what's considered edible or taboo, safe or dangerous.
Right.
But as we've seen,
Yeah.
these categories are fluid
Very fluid.
and often depend on cultural context,
Definitely.
historical circumstances, or even political ideology.
It's all connected.
So what does this all mean for us as eaters?
That's the big question, isn't it?
How do we navigate this complex world of food choices?
I think the key takeaway is to be informed and curious.
I like that.
Don't just blindly accept what you're told.
Right.
Do your own research, ask questions, and be open to challenging your own assumptions about what's good or bad, right or wrong.
That's a great point.
It's about being mindful of the stories behind our food,
Yeah.
where it comes from, how it's produced, and the impact our choices have on the environment and on other people.
Exactly.
And if you ever come across a food that's banned or considered taboo,
Okay.
don't just dismiss it out of hand.
No.
Dig deeper, explore the reasons behind the ban, and see if it expands your understanding of the world.
You might find yourself questioning long-held beliefs
For sure.
or discovering a new appreciation for the incredible diversity of human culinary experiences.
You never know what you might find.
Or you might at least have a few good stories to tell at your next dinner party.
Always a good thing.
That's all for today's deep dive into the world of forbidden flavors.
I hope you enjoyed it.
We hope you've enjoyed the journey and that you'll join us again next time for another exploration of the fascinating world of food.
We'll see you then.
Until then, bon appétit.